All right, let's get right into it. The miter saw. It's a total powerhouse in just about any workshop. It promises speed and a level of precision that can really take your projects up a notch, from just good to truly great. But with all that power comes some serious responsibility. So in the next few minutes, we're going to take you from being a little bit nervous around this thing to being a confident and, most importantly, a safe miter saw user.
So here's what we've got lined up. We'll start with the amazing promise and the hidden peril of this machine. Then, we're going to dive deep into the most critical safety mistakes and, of course, the easy fixes. After that, it's all about calibrating for those perfect cuts, understanding the different kinds of cuts you can make, and we'll wrap up with a few pro tips to seriously upgrade your setup.
The miter saw is really designed for one thing, making incredibly precise cuts in wood. And it does that job exceptionally well. But its power and its speed, man, they demand your respect. The biggest danger isn't some kind of freak accident. It's just getting too comfortable. It's complacency.
This quote from Matt Outlaw over at 731 Woodworks, it just brings the whole point home, doesn't it? He broke his thumb holding a tiny piece of wood, something so many of us, especially beginners, do without a second thought. It's just a really stark reminder that most injuries on this tool come from bad habits, not bad luck. And that's why building good habits isn't just a suggestion. It's honestly the most important safety feature you have.
Okay, so with that in mind, let's jump right into our next section and break down the 7 most common mistakes woodworkers make, and more importantly, the super simple fixes that are going to keep you safe.
That's right, just 7. And believe me, these are the big ones. These are the critical few that cause the vast majority of problems. If you can master these, you're going to dramatically reduce your risk and seriously boost your confidence.
First up, crossing your arms. You see this all the time. It's such a common habit, especially for right-handers, to hold the saw with your right hand and reach across with your left to hold the wood. But think about it. That puts your arm directly in the path of the blade. The fix is so simple. Left hand holds the wood on the left side, right hand holds the wood on the right. Just always keep your hands out of the blade's path.
This is a big one. This is how Matt broke his thumb, and it is hands down one of the most common ways to get seriously hurt. Never, ever hold a small workpiece by hand. The blade can just grab it and pull your fingers in way before you even have a chance to react. The solution? A simple miter saw sled. It's basically just a little carrier for your workpiece. It gives you a solid backer and lets you use a push stick, keeping your fingers safely away from that danger zone.
Look, we all get impatient sometimes, but this drop-and-chop method is both dangerous and sloppy. Starting the cut before the blade is at full speed or lifting it up while it's still spinning, that can cause nasty tear out where the wood fibers get ripped out instead of cleanly cut, and it can send little bits of debris flying everywhere. So just let the blade spin up, make a nice, smooth cut, and wait for it to stop before you lift. Patience here really does equal a cleaner, safer cut.
Now, stop blocks are fantastic for making perfectly repeatable cuts, but they do create a very specific hazard. If you lift that spinning blade, the loose offcut can get pinched between the blade and the stop block, and poof, it turns into a high-speed projectile. Again, the fix is just a little patience. Hold the saw down until the blade stops spinning. That extra second is so worth it.
We've all been there, right? You grab a piece of lumber that's more of a propeller than a board. A warped board that rocks on the saw table isn't just going to give you an inaccurate cut. It's unsafe. It can shift while you're cutting, causing the blade to bind up, pinch, and potentially kick back at you. The fix is super straightforward. Use that clamp that came with your saw to lock the board down securely.
I know, this one seems obvious, but like we said, complacency is the enemy in the workshop. Loose sleeves, dangling jewelry, those annoying hoodie strings, they can get caught in a spinning blade and pull your arm in faster than you can possibly react. It's a simple but absolutely non-negotiable step. Secure any loose clothing before you even think about turning that saw on.
Every miter saw has a maximum angle it can cut. Trying to freehand an angle beyond that limit is just a bad idea. It means the wood isn't properly supported against the fence. It can slip, jam the blade, or pull your hand into a really dangerous spot. The pro solution is a simple jig that safely holds the wood at the correct angle, letting the saw make a standard 90-degree cut right through it.
Okay, so you're working safely. That's awesome. But your projects, they still aren't looking quite professional. Let's move to the next key to mastering this tool, calibration. This right here is the bridge between having a good machine and getting a perfect result.
Man, we've all been there. You cut two pieces at what you think is a perfect 45 degrees, but when you go to join them, you're left with this frustrating, ugly gap. So you measure again, you cut again, and the gap is still there. So what on earth is going on?
Well, here's the good news. It's probably not you. It's the machine's setup. Miter saws can get knocked out of alignment during shipping or just through regular use. And get this, even an error of a few tenths of a degree, something totally invisible on the saw's scale, is enough to create those gaps. But this is a completely 100% solvable problem.
And you're not going to believe how straightforward the solution is. As you can see here, there are just a few key steps. First, make sure the saw is unplugged. Then you just need a high-quality square. First, check that the blade is a perfect 90 degrees to the fence. Then, check that it's 90 degrees to the table for your bevel cuts. And finally, verify your 45-degree miter stops. Once those are all dialed in, then you can adjust your laser guide to match. Trust me, an hour spent doing this will save you countless hours of frustration down the road.
All right, now that our saw is safe and it's perfectly calibrated, it's time for the fun stuff. Let's unlock its full potential by understanding the three main types of cuts it can make. This is where the real versatility of this tool just shines. First up is the miter cut. This is probably the one you'll use the most. It's made by rotating the base of the saw left to right. So think about making picture frames or simple 90-degree corner joints for a box. You're just cutting an angle across the wide face of the board.
Next, we've got the bevel cut. For this one, the saw's base stays put at 0 degrees, but the entire saw head tilts over to the side. This cuts an angle through the thickness of the board. This is super essential for things like baseboards on angled walls, or for creating a nice, clean, chamfered edge on a workpiece.
And finally, we have the saw's most advanced move, the compound cut. This is where the real magic happens. It's where you combine a miter and a bevel in a single cut. So the base is rotated to a miter angle, and the head is tilted to a bevel angle at the same time. This is the secret to cutting really complex joints, like the ones you need for crown molding or building a pyramid-shaped box.
Now, I know it can seem a little intimidating, but let's make it practical. Take a look at this chart. If you wanted to build a four-sided box where the walls slope inward at 30 degrees, you don't have to guess. You just set your saw's miter angle to 49.1 degrees and your blade's bevel, or tilt angle, to 20.7 degrees. See? It turns a really complex puzzle into a simple set of numbers to follow.
Okay, to wrap this all up, let's talk about a few simple high-impact upgrades you can make to your miter saw setup. These are going to improve performance, cleanliness, and safety even more. First, zero clearance tape. Just a piece of tape on your fence gives the wood fibers support right at the cut line, and it drastically reduces tear out. Second, upgrade your dust collection. Miter saws are notoriously messy, and a cleaner shop is always a safer shop. Third, invest in a high tooth count blade. Something with 72 or 80 teeth will give you a finish that's smooth as glass. And finally, a good stop lock system. A simple, adjustable stop on your fence. It makes those repetitive cuts faster, safer, and perfectly identical every single time.
And we're going to end on the single most important piece of advice you will ever hear about using any power tool: your intuition. It's a powerful safety feature. If an operation feels awkward or unstable or just plain wrong, just stop. Take a breath. Rethink your approach. There is always a safer way to make the cut. So trust your gut, stay safe, and keep on building.